On show 486, could Tesla have decided on Fremont for Model Y? GM's own charging network, and EVs getting more expensive. Those stories and many more coming up on today's podcast. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. In fact, wherever you are in the world, welcome to the show. We call this show EV News Daily, and this is your edition for Wednesday, the 29th of May. My name is Martyn Lee, your host. I go through every EV story that I can find in a day, sometimes spending probably far too long looking through all the different various sources that I have for this, but ultimately to save you time. There's so much stuff going on. I try and prioritise what you need to know and save you time, and hopefully it's time well spent, the 15 minutes that you and I spend together each day. I know that time well spent is definitely the website, myev.com. I talk about them every day because they do support me, and myev.com coming up on almost a year since we first heard about the world's first marketplace for buying and selling EVs, whether it's a little city car, maybe a Nissan Leaf that you want to get your hands on, all the way up to a Model S or a Model X, of course, USA only. And I mentioned this thing yesterday, like the new research they've been putting online for MyEV with all the different specs of every car that you can buy new in 2019. We should play like a like a top trumps, you know, kind of what's got a bigger battery sort of, you know, game. Is it the Hyundai Kona electric, or is it the Chevy Bolt? And they go, the Kona wins with 4 more kilowatt hours. Loads of information on that, and it's a great resource to have. Let's crack into the news then. Tesla is expected to produce the new Tesla Model Y at the Fremont factory, according to a CNBC report. Tesla officially hasn't announced where it will produce the Model Y. The automaker says it's considering both the Tesla factory in California, which is somewhere called Fremont, and the Gigafactory, which is somewhere called Sparks in Nevada. Well, Inside EVs reports that because the Model Y shares so many parts with the Model 3, Fremont could be a very wise choice, although the factory is getting pretty cramped there. Unofficial sources say that Tesla has barely begun to place orders for new equipment to manufacture the Model Y. In 2019, Tesla would like to deliver at least 360,000 cars this year. That's in comparison to 245,000 cars last year in 2018, which was a heck of a year last year. Well, a new Elon Musk email has come out / been leaked / found its way to me. Tesla has catching up, is the quote Elon uses. A lot of catching up to do in order to achieve a record quarter. The news website Electrek is reporting today that the chief exec, Elon Musk's leaked email to employees, and according to Reuters as well, says that while demand is strong, we have a lot of vehicle deliveries to catch up on in order to have a successful quarter, Elon Musk said in his email. He also said, we also need to address the total cost of getting a car from our factory to the customer. Last quarter, there were many expedites fees and routing inefficiencies that led to higher than expected delivery costs. This makes it much harder to break even. I think that is a typo in there. As per my earlier email, if we execute well, Q2 will be an all-time record for Tesla vehicle deliveries and an awesome victory! 2 exclamation marks. So obviously Elon in a fine form, and today the share price having a bit of the stock price having a bit of a recovery as well, so maybe a lighter mood at Tesla. That's interesting, actually. One of the things that I didn't realise there, that he says last quarter there were many expedites fees, and I've never heard of something specifically called an expedites fees, but obviously to expedite something is to speed it up. So if you want to get your cars from where they are to a different part of the world quickly, or maybe you had to book some ships quickly, or I don't know, but it sounds like they had some extra costs incurred in order to speed up the process. That's super interesting, and maybe those costs won't be there in the future. Again, all helps the margin, helps Tesla to be profitable, and we all want a strong, profitable Tesla, which is leading the way. We want all the other EV companies as well. We want all the other automakers to have strong, profitable cars. We don't want them selling them at a loss in order to do some kind of PR campaign that, hey, look, we're making an EV, but it's making a loss. We want everyone to be making good money on the electric cars that they sell and making great cars along with it as well. Let's talk about charging next. And here in the UK, new figures from a mobile app, which is called Zap-Map. It's a browser as well, a website, but it tracks where chargers are. I use the app all the time, really. It's kind of up there with my... that and PlugShare, my two favourites, really. Zap-Map revealed the extent of the UK's electric vehicle revolution, with the number of public charging locations now surpassing petrol stations for the very first time. Data from Zap-Map shows, as of a week ago, there were 8,471 charging stations across the UK, and that is a total of 13,500 charging devices. In contrast to the 8,471 chargers or charging stations locations, there are 8,400 petrol locations in the UK. That number continues to decline. It's a very common thing here in the UK. I'm not sure whether this is where you are as well. As petrol stations close down at quite a fast rate, so many of them are being used as car washes. Is that a uniquely thing here? Does that happen where you are? I see so many of them close down and then crop up as either car dealers or car washes, hand car washes. Well, the thing about petrol stations, in some big cities, of course, they do have prime real estate. And whilst it may be hard to get permission from the planners and regulators to change the use, to go from a commercial piece of land to a residential piece of land, I do buy the argument that it's much easier, if you're going to take a petrol station away, to replace that with an EV charging hub and make the most of that rare, precious land in the middle of city centres, in big urban areas, for those people that live in flats and apartments. So congratulations to the huge growth in the UK over the last 12 months. There's a big announcement in China this Friday, 2 days away. Bloomberg reports that Tesla is expected to announce the price of a China-made Model 3. That's meant to be the big surprise. But we always knew there was going to be a Chinese-made Model 3. So maybe the surprise is going to be something else, or maybe the surprise will just be the price in China. The date is set for Friday. Inside EVs says the base Model 3 is going to be produced at the Tesla Gigafactory 3 in Shanghai, and it allows it to avoid a 15% import tax and catch on to the Chinese subsidies for what the Chinese call NEVs, new energy vehicles. Well, currently the cheapest Model 3 in China starts at around $54,000. Yeah, I know. Bloomberg says the new price, avoid the import, get the subsidies, could bring the price down to $43,000. That's before subsidies, actually, so they would then kick in. The pricing announcement could be related to the surprise, which they say is coming on Friday, or maybe it could be something else to do with Gigafactory 3. As everyone knows, the Model 3 produced locally will be cheaper than being imported. Cheaper labour. Parts have to be assembled in China for it to be called a Chinese EV. And it's one of the things which is most interesting about the base price Model 3. Of course, it went on sale in the US at $35,000. Just software. It was it settled into being the standard range plus software locked. It's off menu. That means if you're not familiar with that, you've got to walk into a Tesla store or give them a call and ask for it specifically, a bit like the secret menu at McDonald's, and then you can get one. And that is still for sale. I was skeptical at the time. This is the thing that Tesla have always done in the past when they are removing a model. They take it offline on their website, they make it off menu, in-store only, telephone only, and then it quietly goes away. To their credit, the $35,000 Model 3, which is in a small bump in price, hasn't gone away. It's still available. They just would rather you didn't buy it. That's why they make the Standard Range Plus so much more appealing, with the partial premium interior, more range and all those kind of things as well. In China, of course, what we must always remind ourselves is what we are talking about here. The base Model 3, Standard Range Model 3 is what they'll be making in China. The question that I had for a while and haven't heard answered yet: does that mean all standard range Model 3s will then be made in China but shipped to the US? Is that going to be the case? Because Chinese manufacturing costs so much lower labour costs, better margin on the car. Is that going to happen? Or will these be only for the Chinese domestic market? I've seen both speculated, no definitive answer. If you know, well, then let me know and I can pass it on. Let's talk about GM. GM confirmed today it plans its own large electric car charging network. That's huge news, but let me finish the story. Thousands of fast charging stations in the US from GM. Again, this sounds like huge news. Their own supercharging network, just like Tesla. The first ones to do it. But let me continue. But the automaker, GM, can't quite be bothered, says Electric, to invest in the chargers itself. Freda Electric says the American automaker confirmed today it's going to be teaming up with a construction company in the US. They're called Bechtel, to build thousands of EV fast charging stations across the USA as part of a fast charging network. CNN reports that the American automaker confirmed today that they're going to be building them, that neither company plans to put money into the project, however, and the two companies will create a separate corporation to build the charging network, but other companies are now going to be invited to do the investing. So if you have, I don't know, a few $100 million lying around, and you would like to invest it into a company formed between GM and this construction company, who aren't putting their own money into it, well then, by all means, go ahead and invest. Neither GM nor Bechtel would name potential investors. They say discussions are ongoing. You do kind of wonder, though, if GM were serious about this, whether they would put their money where their press release is. But good luck to them. But they're looking for outside investment. Let's talk about a new smart charger, a new mobile app, and it's a company called Rolec here in the UK. ROLEC is the company, Rolec. Rolec EV is launching a new range of smart home EV chargers that allows drivers to manage charging through the app. Well, that's nothing new, you may say. It's called EV Home Smart, and EV Home Smart chargers are going to be integrated with a new cloud-based system called EV Energy, and it's eligible for the grant scheme as well, which makes the chargers cheaper, says Current News. Drivers can program the charger to charge your car at specific times when the EV Energy app is integrated with your own electricity provider, and it can then charge your car at the cheapest rate. Charging history will be available to see through the app, live charging status on there, electricity used in kilowatt hours, energy cost, carbon savings. The chargers are enabled for either 3.6 or 7.2 kilowatts and are being launched as part of the Wallpod EV charging portfolio. It's a second addition to the portfolio being announced later this month. A range of solar-powered chargers are also being launched from Rolec. This feels a little bit to me like playing catch-up. This isn't the first product on the market which does exactly this, but I guess if you were an EV charging company or you're an EVSE manufacturer, you utterly need to have these kind of products in your locker these days. These smart, connected, cloud-based systems that connect with your energy provider to charge your car when it's cheapest and greenest. I'm not sure how this compares to the OMI solution. The OMI is OHME, by the way, works with Octopus Energy here in the UK, and if you want to hear all about that, you go back a few weeks on the podcast to a Saturday special, and maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago now, and I spoke to the CEO of Octopus EV all about this very clever cable which you can get, which does exactly what we're talking about here, so your car charges when it's cheapest and greenest overnight. Hey, by the way, as a side note, as a digression, as of me coming in to record this podcast, it's been over 12 days in a row since any coal-powered plant was turned on in the UK to make electricity. That blows out of the water the previous longest record, which was something like 9 days, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. But certainly, you go back 4 or 5 or 6 years and the UK's grid had so much electricity generated by coal. There was an enormous amount. It was a huge amount of coal being burned every single day to power the grid. Investments being made into renewables, solar and wind. Unfortunately, offshore wind, because our government know that onshore wind isn't a vote winner. The kind of people that vote for the current government we've got also live in lots of lovely green places where they don't want the view spoilt by wind turbines, and so it's not a vote winner for our current administration. And so they don't support onshore wind. They barely support offshore wind, to be honest with you. It's not a green government we have at all. However, despite everything they're doing against renewables, they're actually putting up the tax later this year. We have a thing called VAT, value added tax. At the moment, it's 5% on solar panels. They're going to make it 20%. This really is a government that, like many other countries as well, say all the right things when they're out doing their speeches, but behave in completely the opposite way. So if you've got solar panels now, you're fine. But if you're going to be putting solar panels in the future, get them in done now. Holy moly, don't get me started. So despite everything, against all odds here in the UK, we are 12 days now coal free. Haven't burnt a single lump of coal to make electricity. If you own an EV, if you're thinking about buying an EV one day, one of the crucial arguments that people will, when they try and knock EVs, is, well, you're still burning stuff. You're just burning it in a different place rather than burning petrol in the car. You're burning something else. Of course, EVs get cleaner as the grid gets cleaner. Even in places that are coal heavy, EVs are the better choice. I thought I'd do a little digression there. I saw my Twitter app over 12 days now. A little retweet to everyone that follows me on Twitter at EV News Daily. Prices of second-hand cars are on the way up, but only if you drive an EV. Not good news if you have a diesel or a petrol car, but very good news if you have something with a battery on board. It says Inside EVs, electric vehicles are rocketing in value. Prices went up 11% in the last year. In contrast, price growth for all vehicles has slowed. The lowest rate for almost 2 years now. If you are sitting on an EV and you're thinking of selling it now would be a good time. But of course, you've always got to buy your next car as well. Case in point, for what I paid for my car 8 months ago, maybe almost coming up to a year ago, possibly, I couldn't get anywhere near that now. Paid £5,900 for a 2.5-year-old, a 20-month-old Renault Zoe. £5,900 I paid. You can't get anywhere near that for a car that is not even at its second birthday now. So, good luck to everyone that's buying an EV at the moment. Do it now, because prices are going up. Final story today, Kia has started selling the revised versions of the Niro, the Kia Niro Hybrid and the Kia Niro plug-in hybrid that they presented recently at the Geneva Motor Show, says electrive.com, the industry resource. The 2020 models of the new hybrids can be ordered from the 1st of July. In the UK, prices start at £24,590 for the Niro Hybrid and £31,945 for the plug-in. The cosmetic changes bring those two cars in line with what the fully electric e-Niro looks like. In Germany, prices start at €26,990 for the hybrid and €33,990 for the plug-in hybrid, and are available in Germany at the end of July. That's the news for today. Let's move on to our question of the week. Your part of the show. This is where we read out your answers on a Sunday. So what's your answer to this question? What would your dream job be in the EV industry? And why? Tell me why. What would your dream job be in the EV industry? Don't say podcasting about EVs every single day. It's not as hard as I make this job seem sometimes. Let me know. Email me, hello@evnewsdaily.com. That's hello@evnewsdaily.com. Leave a comment on the Facebook or the YouTubes. Thank you to 214 patrons of the podcast whose generosity means that I get to keep making this show. Thank you so much to everyone who supports me. By no means do I take it for granted. I absolutely appreciate everything that the Patreon community does. Patreon.com/EVNewsDaily, patreon.com/EVNewsDaily. You guessed it. It's a way of you supporting your favourite creators, or creators that you sort of just don't mind, really. Haven't got to be your favourite ones. Thank you very much to everyone who supports this show. If you want to get any of the 485 previous shows online, goodness, then you can. They're all online for free in the archive. New ones available every single day. Hit subscribe on your podcast app or YouTube to get them first and free and automatically. Say hi on the socials by searching, you guessed it, EV News Daily. Have a wonderful day. I'll catch you tomorrow. And remember, Kia, there is no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.